In a lot of my conversations, we are talking through the process of what it means and what it looks like and the most effective ways to implement effectively. When it comes to this SEL implementation, there are so many factors, and you've heard me speak about it. You've heard me speak about the adult development that has to come into it. You heard me speak about the systems side of it and how does that integrate foundationally. But when it comes to implementation specifically, so many people look at implementation or hope implementation looks like this linear, just upward track, right? It just starts here, you realize what has to be implemented, you realize what gaps need to be filled, and it just simply goes like this from kind of what you develop or what you do. And we all wish it would look like that, and it'd be really easy and a lot more simpler if it looked like that. But the reality is effective implementation looks nothing like that. Effective implementation is more of this cycle or more of this kind of zigzag type way of working, because what has to happen when you're doing something around implementation is you have to continue to create space to gather feedback, to reflect, to look at what's working and what's not, and adjust and pivot. And that's why so much of it starts to look more like this or more of a cycle, because in order for something to stick, you have to be able to take these little sample sizes, knowing where you're going, and look at it and go, what are we doing effectively? What aren't we doing effectively? What is data telling us? What is this information suggesting? What do we have to do? Where do we have to pivot? Are there things that are now playing a factor, or barriers that are now a factor that we never even forecasted for? So much of implementation is understanding where you want to go, but be able to truly be in these cycles within that process to do something effectively. Because when you're meeting yourself where you are, when you're making next step decisions based on feedback and information in that moment rather than the overarching plan, then you're able to actually sustain and plan accordingly, because you're addressing the reality of what's going on. So much implementation falls short because they don't address the reality. It's just, here's what we're going to do, or here's what we said we're going to do. And when the day-to-day happens, or when the feedback occurs, or when things are in the midst of it, you don't adjust, right? And that's where there's disconnect, is in the inability to adjust. And so much of implementation is around that space, and so much of our implementation conversations, whether it's K-12 or higher ed, are kind of rooted in, can we step ourselves out to take inventory on what's working, what's not? Think about implementation through that lens, bring a reflective space so that we can make the adjustments and pivots necessary, or determine proper next steps based on the reality of what's going on, aligned with where we are looking to go, whether that's related to goals as a district, school, strategic plans, etc. So I think overall, people, when it comes to implementation, as I continue to learn more about implementation science and theories around implementation and just effective implementation tools, learning that implementation is not this linear model, and it's this very gray, fluid cycle. The more we can get comfortable and determine how to codify that and how to structure that, the more effective we can be in long-term sustainable implementation, which is what everyone wants.